Ben Rennick was one of the country's preeminent snake breeders.
This girl, very tame.
Rennick appeared at reptile shows selling his snakes to enthusiasts all over the country. That ended in June of 2017 when he was found dead at his breeding facility.
I thought he'd been attacked by a snake because his skull was crushed. But he was standing exactly where he always stood, right there in the facility.
Sam Rennick is Ben's brother. He got the panicked call that night from Ben's wife, Lynn Lee.
It wasn't until well after the police arrived and that I was told that he was actually murdered by a gun, by a weapon, and I found that very hard to believe. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Nobody would ever want to hurt Ben.
According to police, Ben was the victim of multiple gunshot wounds, with one being a contact wound to the head. Nothing was stolen, and based on where his body was found, investigators seemed to be convinced of one thing, that the killer was known to Rennick. But Ben's murder went unsolved for more than 2 years, until this January, a break. Identified only as BB in the police report, he broke the case wide open with information leading to the arrest of Ben's wife, Lynn Lee Rennick, and her ex-boyfriend, Michael Humphrey. The two are charged with first-degree murder in the death of Ben Rennick.
BB is the key to this case, but BB was also now the former boyfriend of Lynn Lee. And she's got two former boyfriends that'll be a big part of this trial, but the victim is her husband. Yikes. Let's bring back in the think tank Andrew Warren. This is a defendant who is involved with several different men while she's apparently married. Her husband, the Snake King, he has some money, is funding her business and everything else. Seems there were some financial troubles at some point with the business she was running. Do you expect that she will get up on the stand and tell her story?
I think she will, but that's speculating based on how strong the evidence is. And it's going to depend on whether the state can put together a case that shows compelling evidence that this was her. I mean, just based on sort of the circumstances we know, she's having multiple affairs. She's taking money out of his successful business to fund her unsuccessful one. There are reports that he was prepared to file for divorce. She's worried that he's going to get the kids. There are allegations that she had tried to poison him and it was unsuccessful. So if that's what the jury is hearing, then she may need to be there to explain what she did or didn't do. However, if the case is largely circumstantial, and because it took 2 years to identify a suspect, there's a chance that the state's case isn't very strong. And in those circumstances, you often see the defendant not take the stand and just hope that the jury finds that the state did not prove its really high burden.
LaTonya Hines, I can imagine during the course of this trial, as these boyfriends are getting up and off the witness stand, if they both testify or just one of them testifies, and the jury's hearing all this information about what she was allegedly doing, they're going to be looking at her the whole time. They're going to be looking at every little motion she makes.
Without a doubt.
She's going to be on trial.
Yeah, without a doubt. And whether or not it is good to say or not, I mean, I think that she's also going to be judged as a woman with regard to how her character is, whether or not it should be or not. I think they're going to be judging that this is her husband and she has all these other extramarital type of affairs. So they're going to be judging those types of things. But if I look at it, if I was a defense attorney in this, I definitely wouldn't want her to take the stand. I don't think it's a good idea because then she's opened up to so many other questions, whether or not it's about all these different relationships and everything. And I think it's probably better for the jury not to have to go in depth for that, for her sake.
Joseph Lowe, do you think she can charm the jury just sitting there at counsel table?
Well, I doubt it. However, there's a saying among criminal defense lawyers, you want to walk, you got to talk. But I agree that would really depend on the state of the evidence. And we haven't been told enough as to what it was that BB gave the investigators that allowed them to then go for her. And that's going to be the real crux of the case. Here's what I mean. If it's simply he says something like, well, she may have talked about it or thought about it and wanted to do it, that's, again, going to be circumstantially pretty weak. You're going to need better evidence than that. You're going to need to put some physical facts to put her at the scene, either with the gun, DNA, a confession of some type, an admittance to the boyfriend. You need something solid like that. But given the fact that those two aren't together, now you have all those problems to deal with as the government. So I don't know what they have, but they're gonna have to have something better than we know about.
Yeah, Andrew, it seems like BB, the now ex-boyfriend, is the key witness for prosecutors, right? He's the one that apparently his information blew the thing wide open. Are you afraid that he may end up being the target of the defense? That they'll say, look, that's where you need to look. You got to look at the boyfriend who wanted to get rid of the husband because he wanted his wife.
Yeah, it could be. And there are reports that BB is an unindicted co-conspirator, that he was involved in this. And so you don't know what extent he was involved with, assuming that's true. Was he the boyfriend who she asked for help to do the deed and he said no? Was he the guy, as you suggest, Vinny, who actually killed Ben and now they're looking at the wrong people? You really don't know. And it comes back to, what is the state's case here? What is BB's role in this? If he's able to provide them, as Joseph said, with, putting her at the scene, putting a gun in her hand, DNA, then it really strengthens the state's case against the primary suspects of Lindley and her current boyfriend, and it puts BB more on the periphery as, someone who just knew what was going on.
Bottom line, this is one to watch. It's all about relationships and potential other suspects. We've got a trial, a general date, May. We're not going to give you an exact date. They've slated it for the month of May, and obviously it's because of everything that's going on right now in courtrooms across America. But we will continue to track it right here on your front row seat to justice.